want to talk about this plan, obviously releasing it on the day that the debate is being held, the last debate, as we just talked about, before Tuesday's primaries and Super Tuesday. Is this Romney's way of sort of focusing the discussion back on the economy and really on himself, because this is now a policy which he's released and will be discussed tonight?
Absolutely. No, I think this is kind of the last of, he had trotted out that famous 59-point plan that was tough to wade through back in September and had promised additional details. They've kind of trickled out in the months since. But the big question was, what was he going to do on the individual tax rates? He unveiled that today in Arizona, and his staff said this morning on a conference call that the purpose was to kind of frame the debate tonight and frame the debate in the days moving into the Arizona and Michigan primaries. The rates, it's fairly standard with what other Republicans have done. He's going to, it's across the board, all 6 tax brackets. It'll be a 20% drop. So if you're in the top tax bracket, you'd go from 35% to 28%. If you're in the lowest tax bracket, you'd go from 10% to 8%. It is in line with what he had suggested he would do, but he's now put it on paper, which I think there had been some grumbling in recent weeks that he had not put pen to paper and committed himself to this. So this was kind of a necessary step, particularly among his donor base, who was getting a little frustrated with the campaign for kind of playing coy on this question.
Right, and that's the issue, Pat. I mean, I know that the Romney campaign will come out and they'll say, well, this was part of the plan all along. But I'm wondering the timing of it, the debates tonight, Super Tuesday. It seems to me this is a little bit reactionary. Is that the case? Is he kind of just, he's feeling a little heat, so he's got to come up with something new?
They say no, but if you look back, I mean, when he put out that first economic blueprint, that was really when questions were rising. You know, where is Mitt Romney? He's kind of the MIA candidate. He had not done a press conference in 3 or 4 weeks and had basically just been doing fundraisers as he watched all the other the candidates or non-candidates self-immolate. But then when the questions kind of started to surround him, they come out and they change the conversation. They've proved fairly effective. This is a critical moment in his campaign. He needs to define himself over the next 2 weeks, and he will define himself based solely on how he performs in these upcoming elections. And I think what they wanted to do is put their best foot forward. Now we asked them specifically, well, you know, was this a reaction? And they say, no, this has been a long time coming. But they did acknowledge that they wanted to get the plan out before the debate tonight so that Romney would have a national television audience to talk about it. So the debate definitely played a factor, and I would assume that you know, there's been a lot of hand-wringing among Mitt Romney supporters nationally and in a lot of the early voting states. So I think this was probably, in part at least, a reaction to some of that hand-wringing and the complaints that they'd had from inside the camp.
And we know there's been a lot of discussion over, of course, this sort of contentious issue of the capital gains rate, the 15% that you know that Mitt Romney and other sort of capital gains taxes are taxed at, whether or not that would change. What is he saying about that, and also the other the carried interest tax rate as well? What is he saying about that? Would he change that?
Well, so on cap gains and dividends, he had said that for anyone making under $200,000, he could eliminate those taxes. He'd left it kind of an open question what he would do for people who make more. Today, he said that he would leave the rates where they are right now, so basically the current Bush-era rates of 15%. As far as carried interest is concerned, that's actually a little bit more delicate for him. Obviously, he made his money in private equity, so he knows quite well what carried interest means. And Al Hubbard, one of his economic advisors this morning, can't remember which one, there were a couple of them on the call, said that he would recommend or tell his Treasury Secretary to go figure out what portion of carried interest returns are capital gains and what is income or what could be qualified as income. So he really left that question up in the air, you know, to be determined later. Given his donor base, I guess that's no real surprise, and his background. But they did explicitly say that they would try to deal with it. They just did not give us much in the way of specifics there.
Yeah. Pat, so the Obama administration came out with a plan, we saw that today, to reduce corporate taxes. Romney is now talking about the individual taxes. He's talking about corporate taxes too. How big an issue is the tax code going to be in the general election?
I would assume it will be the issue. I mean, if there is a fundamental question that divides these two parties and a fundamental question that divides the president from whomever he's going to run against, it would be taxation. Barack Obama wants to return the tax rates, at least at the upper income, to where they were before President Bush passed those tax cuts. He also had talked about establishing that kind of minimum, the AMT for the millionaires, which 30% for anyone who makes more than $1 million. Whereas now with Romney's plan, every Republican has offered up a proposal that would cut taxes significant, not only keep them where they are, which is under what they were before President Bush, but would then cut them significantly from here. So I think that this is going to be a very big discussion moving forward. It's probably the brightest line that divides the Republicans from the Democrats at this point.